To Odoo Experience 2020. I am so excited to be here today. I have had the great fortune to represent Odoo in our Odoo roadshows across the entire continent, from Canada all the way down to Argentina and everywhere else in between. I am truly passionate about events. Have you ever asked yourself, should I do events for my company or organization? How effective are events and presentations to get the word and message out there? Well, I am here today to tell you that events and presentations are truly a powerful tool. They not only increase your brand awareness, they also create opportunities for engagement. Engagement between yourself, your organization, and the audience. Events also provide an opportunity for human connection. We love to connect with one another. Going to events, going to fairs, going to live presentations is an opportunity not only to connect with the organization, but it's also an opportunity for connecting with one another. It's truly one of my favorite parts of going on an Odoo Roadshow. It's meeting folks face to face, listening to what they have to say, answering questions and doubts about the product, and ultimately really getting to know who our customers are. Ultimately as well, events are a wonderful opportunity to increase leads that ultimately leads to sales. Now, I've had the great fortune as well to have traveled 2020 in the beginning of the year. Just to give you an idea, we went from this, a room packed full of people, to only a few weeks going to an empty auditorium. COVID-19 has changed the way we do events. Live events are no longer a safe way to get that message out to our audience. So what happens? We have moved to streaming live events. We went from a room full of people to a virtual way of getting the message out to our audience. We have done virtual roadshows across the entire globe. We have also reached hundreds of thousands of folks due to this new normal. However, this new normal has also created certain challenges. We are vying for the attention of our audience when they themselves are distracted from 20 different angles. Some of us have children that we have to take care of. Some of us have partners that have other things going on. And so truly paying attention and getting that audience to connect with us is a challenge we all have to deal with. Now, I know you've all seen presentations online before, and I'm going to ask you, have you ever felt a little like this? Or like that? Yeah, sometimes that lack of human connection and seeing things digitally presents a barrier, and sometimes that engagement isn't there. Us, as presenters, we want to have a truly engaged audience. We want them to look from this to something more like that. We want presenters to have an audience that is engaged, that is excited, that is also truly asking questions and making sure that what is being presented is to their benefit. We want happy audience members. Now, how do we go from this to this? Let's talk about that. But first, how many of you remember sitting in a lecture in college? I do. I sat in the back, and I remember sharing that lecture hall with hundreds of other students my freshman year. And I was bored to tears. You see, when you listen to a lecture, you only remember 5% of anything that's being discussed. I would argue that's not the best way to dispense information. Now, how do you recall that information? Well, if you have a discussion, that level of recall increases dramatically. Let's take a closer look to see the various techniques you can use to not only increase engagement, but have your audience remember the information that you are dispensing. This diagram clearly shows how more we increase engagement, the more we remember the information that's being provided. So the pyramid can be divided between passive learning and active learning. If we're passively learning information, the ability to remember it is decreased. The more active we are in that recall, the more we'll be able to remember. So just to give you the example of the lecture, 5% recall and 5% remembrance. The more we include active activities, the higher that recall is. So by just reading along with the lecture, you increase it to 10%. If we have audio visuals included in a lecture, for instance, with graphs and compelling images, that goes up to 20. Anytime you have brain involvement, you are increasing the ability to remember that information, and that's truly what we want. A demonstration goes up to 30%, and ultimately a discussion is 50%. And a discussion can be back and forth, exchanging of ideas and participation. Practice doing, of course, goes up to 75%. And then when you teach something that you have recently learned, recalling it increases to 90%. Today, we are going to take a look at how the Odoo Survey application fosters and cultivates discussion. Albeit virtually, it still increases the way our audience recalls, remembers, and engages with your presentation. Let Odoo transform the way online presentations are done. And if you remember the keynote today, you will see how Fabian used the survey application to keep us engaged, to keep us motivated, to participate, and to move the presentation along. Let's take a closer look at this powerful tool and see how it can increase engagement with your online presentations, but also when we go back to normal, we can equally use it for our in-live presentations. I remember being in Costa Rica a couple of years ago, and I was doing a lot of my typical presentations the way that I have been doing it for years. They're engaging, I throw in a joke, I put in my demo, and I talk to the audience about the wonders of this truly integrated, seamless tool. Now, the presentation lasts for about an hour and a half. And even though it's animated and it's interesting, you still have audience members that are disconnected and disengaged. I can see out into the audience and see a couple of head noddings. I also see some folks standing up and leaving. And so we wondered, how can we get the audience to be engaged? It's not enough to just dispense interesting information. We really need to have them on our journey. And what we decided is to have a story. Odoo created a way to have the audience choose their own adventure when it comes to what they should see with our end-to-end product demo. We changed the entire way of going through a product tour to an actual engaging choose your own adventure. That transforms the entire dynamic of a presentation from a passive one to an active one. We want the audience to choose what they want to see according to the story that's being created. And just to give you an example, the story follows like this. We are a brand new business. We saved a lot of money and now we are ready to open up our own store. We've decided to download an Odoo database and fill it with various applications and have those applications move our company forward as we scale. Now, the beauty of this scenario is that we let the audience member decide on what they want to see and what should be the first action that us as a business should take. So for instance, as a business, what should be the first thing? Well, we could either open up a brick and mortar store, we can create a website, or we can sell door to door. And the audience, using their phone, was able to decide what we should do. Most often, they choose to build a website. And there I go. I start off that journey by building a website, showing them the features of Odoo's website builder, and demonstrating true value, not only by ease of use, but also by high functionality. And as we go through the story, the audience is engaged and they feel part of what's happening on stage. We're taking that ethos and that level of engagement to virtual events as well. As you saw with Fabian, this is not only limited to live events, we are carrying it digitally. Let's take a closer look at the Odoo Survey application so you can see how easy it is to create compelling surveys on the fly. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is go to my Odoo database. And we are going right here. And what we see are my various applications right here on my homepage. And I identify my surveys application. Now, once we open our application, we see that this app is also created the same way that many of our other apps are created. We have our menu, our search bar, and our dashboard. We can easily group by state, for example, that is represented as a Kanban view of our various states. We have our drafted surveys that have been created, those that are in process for our various presentations, and those that we can easily move to close. All right, so let's take a quick look at one of the surveys that have been created. And let's go to our burger quiz. And do we have any questions right here? We don't, but we have right here the survey. So all the questions are right here, easily identifiable. We have a description of the quiz, and we can easily create a live session to include on our online presentation. Not only are surveys a powerful tool for engagement during a presentation, but it's also a powerful tool to create an opportunity for feedback at the end of any presentation. Now, if we want to look at all of the questions that have been created, we can easily take a look right here. And Odoo makes it easy to see and identify all of the various questions that are included in the various surveys. And here we are. We're back to our surveys. Let's see how easy it is to create a survey, test it, and have a live session on the fly. So we want to go ahead and create a brand new survey, and let's call this Odoo Roadshow Survey. So we're easily giving it a title. And what we want to do is have a couple of questions that the audience can answer during the presentation. So what we want to do is we want to add a section, and we want to ask, how do we want to start our business? So the question is right here. We want to have it as a multiple choice with multiple answers, right? Because we want to make sure that the audience gets to choose what they want to see. So we have build a brick and mortar store. All right. We also want to maybe sell door to door. We know how effective that is. And finally, we want to build a website. Save and close. Oh, here we go. The question is, how do we want to start our business? All right. We can naturally populate all of the various steps of the presentation as we go along. If we want to then see, we want to save it, we can start the survey or test it. But let me just show you an example on how easy it is by starting the survey. The smart buttons on Odoo makes the next transition so easy by highlighting what the next step should be. Here we have our start survey. And then here, we can create a live session. We can test it. In this case, we want to have a live session. Or we can easily share our survey to all of our audience members that have decided to go. So here is the question. And we want to go ahead and waiting for attendees. All right, so here is the first question. How do we want to start our business? And so as folks start answering the question, you'll see in real time the bars choosing their own adventure. Now, if we go back to our application, we can also appreciate the powerful analytics associated to these surveys. So let's go ahead with my company vendor certification. We want to see the results. And here we are. By understanding how your audience is engaging, you can see ways to increase engagement and customize the message of your online presentations. Having this level of analytics truly allows you to be much more effective with the delivery of your presentations. All right, so we can easily edit the survey here to make some tweaks, but what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our dashboard and just sum up what we've talked about today. We know that presentations and events are a powerful way to get the message of your organization out to a large group of people. The new normal due to COVID-19 has provided an opportunity to use the technology of digital casting to reach a much greater audience. Odoo allows to have a survey application to increase engagement. And by increasing engagement, you are allowing your audience to be much more fully involved and invested in the message that's being delivered. I encourage everyone to use and to try the Odoo Survey application, not only for your online events, but also for your teammates to gather feedback. Really turn this into a two-way discussion versus a passive lecture. Thank you so much for being with us today. I am so excited to have had the opportunity to talk to you about what I'm truly passionate about. Good luck and stay safe out there.
Well, Yossi, that was a great talk.
Thanks so much.
I never knew Survey was such an interactive application. When you present it in that angle, it sure gives it more depth.
It's really a cool tool. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed incorporating it into the live presentations. And I've seen for sure a higher level of interaction between myself and the online audience.
Absolutely. Talking about interaction, they're asking us a few questions.
Okay.
I think that I'll just take them as they came in.
Okay.
They're asking, can I go back once I'm presenting on the application?
So once you create your question and you are presenting live, you can't go back. It's been put out there. Everyone has been given the question. They're engaging live. So the ability to go back, unfortunately, is not possible.
All right. And how about conditional answers? Are they possible?
Yeah, you can certainly have conditional answers. The example that we showed today was multiple choice, but there's a series and a different number of different types of questions and answers that can be configured depending on how you want to have that presentation or how you want to use the survey questions.
All right. They're also asking us about browser compatibility. Is it possible to deliver this or to use this application on any browser?
Yep, absolutely. As long as you have internet access, you can actively participate on your smartphone device, on your tablet, on your laptop, desktop. Any device really could be used. You are, like you saw on the presentation, you just get that URL code and go ahead and participate regardless.
Talking about limitations, is there a limit to the number of people?
No, actually, there isn't a limitation. As if we remember yesterday at the opening keynote, there were thousands and thousands of people actively participating on Fabian's survey. And that's, I feel, one of the best parts about this. It's pretty much limitless. You can have worldwide events with countless of users participating in real time, and that really does just open the world to possibilities.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially now where everyone is remote,
Yeah.
They could be as remote as can be, seemingly.
That's right.
In terms of that sort of interaction and the browser interface, what sort of dilation should we expect? They're asking us.
That's a great question. And I found out the hard way that, first of all, there is a dilation.
Okay.
And it's going to be roughly from 5 to 10 seconds. So we have to take a couple of things into consideration. Number one, the internet connection that you have and everyone else is going to determine the dilation. But remember that there's also a dilation in the presentation itself with what you're casting, what depends on the platform that you're using, whether it's YouTube or any other platform. So when I first started using the survey application for our online road shows, I felt I didn't understand the length of the dilation, and I just thought people weren't participating. So understanding that really will give you, the speaker, an opportunity to fill in that silence with either pertinent information about the subject matter or just a way to continue to engage with the audience as the votes come in. So patience truly is a key when it comes to getting that level of interaction with your audience.
Pace yourselves.
That's right.
All right. They're asking us about, actually, this is very interesting. We've heard this before. Are open-ended questions possible right now with the survey app?
Yeah, you can ask open-ended questions. Now, what I think would be interesting in a future development of the survey application is the ability for the audience to vote on what questions they want either answered, or having a voting system within the questions that have been asked in order to create even further dialogue. These are great for AMAs or Ask Me Anything sessions, where you can have the audience vote on the questions that have been submitted to direct the conversation and to move that subject along. So right now it's not a possibility, but going forward in the future, I certainly hope and think that this is a feature that could be added.
All right, great. And now about versions. They're asking about Community Edition, Enterprise Edition. Is survey application available in both of them?
The survey application I know is available on the Enterprise. I have to see if the survey application, the way it is right now, is going to be available for Community. Certainly, the survey application is available on the community version. I just have to see if the integration with presentations or this
Right.
feature is going to be a community version
Right.
availability.
Absolutely.
So I have to check on that.
But the good news is everything we saw is out of the box on the Enterprise Edition,
Out of the
right?
box, out of the box enterprise, you can start asking questions immediately.
Phenomenal. About the display functionality, they're asking us if bar charts are available in terms of displaying the results.
So that's a great question. So once the audience is voting, you'll see the results as a bar chart. When you want to see the analytics of what has been voted on and the audience participation, you can have a pie graph. So I don't think right now you can choose between a bar graph or a pie graph for the audience to view. That's something that could be in the future, something that we can incorporate.
Okay.
I think having multiple views of answers is compelling. But right now, bar charts is the way that we are seeing the levels of the answers that are being given.